years ago, Mary Lou Retton became a household name in this country. Now a new group of gymnasts headed by two Bella Caroli-trained athletes. 15-year-old Phoebe Mills, the top finisher in last weekend's Olympic trials. And Shelley Stack, all hope to follow in Mary Lou's footsteps. For the men, 1984 Olympian Scott Johnson anchors the 88 squad, along with NCAA champion Kevin Davis and the exciting Charles Lakes. Today you'll see both gymnastics teams on the road to Seoul, the Carolinas Invitational on USA Sports. It's day 2 of the Carolinas Invitational on USA Sports at the new Charlotte Coliseum. This afternoon, an exhibition performance by the United States Olympic gymnastics teams. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ted Robinson. Welcome to USA Sports' continuing coverage of the Carolinas Invitational. A much-needed day of normalcy here at the new Charlotte Coliseum after yesterday's chaos. About 15,000 filing in this afternoon to watch a performance, not a competition, by our Olympics gymnastics teams. There will be no scoring today, hopefully a lot of fun, and you'll get your chance to see up close the gymnasts who are hoping to bring medals back from Seoul in about a month. And that's, of course, not all of our coverage is complete this afternoon. Tonight, we go to the old Charlotte Coliseum as the Olympic boxing team takes on members of the Canadian Olympic team. That will be at 9 Eastern time tonight. Then tomorrow at 6 Eastern, it's criterium cycling through the streets of Charlotte with several spots on our Olympic team still up for grabs. And at 7:30 Eastern tomorrow night, the Olympic baseball team concludes its 7-game series with the Cuban national team. But for the next 2 hours this afternoon, sit back, relax, join us, and enjoy gymnastics. And to help bring you the competition, our gymnastics team, Bob Carpenter and Kathy Johnson.
Thank you, Ted. And not that they ever relax too much, but it has been a rather relaxing week for our Olympic team, having come through the trials a week ago. Kathy, of course, a 2-time medalist at the 84 games, the captain of our women's gymnastics team. And Kathy, it has been an interesting week for these gymnasts, and now we scout the women's team, a squad that has a combination of youth in a newcomer leading the way and experience with a veteran.
Well, the United States will be well represented in Seoul. They are led by Phoebe Mills, who rose to the top this year, first in winning the American Cup, then the USA Championships, and finally the Olympic trials just this last week. And also Kelly Garrison-Steeves, the 21-year-old veteran who was second at the trials, and hopefully will provide that experience and leadership that they need. The team is a great combination of youth and experience.
Don Peters resigning Monday as the coach of the women's team, citing the team concept being the most important thing as his reason. The name of Bella Caroli and others remains important in the women's gymnastics picture. We'll further develop that story as the afternoon turns into the evening here in Charlotte. On the men's team, a diverse group of personalities, styles, and approaches to the various events.
Again, the men have a good combination. They have youth, as many of the members are relative newcomers to international competition. And experience, Scott Johnson, 1984 Olympic gold medalist. And then the free spirit, Charles Lakes. And I'm sure everybody will see exactly what I mean as they watch the exhibition.
Right now, they're walking onto the floor, the men and the women, to a great ovation for the folks here in Charlotte. A well-deserved ovation after the pressure of the Olympic trials. And now they get to just show their wares here in Charlotte this afternoon. Ted, it should be a very fun afternoon of gymnastics here in North Carolina.
Well, Bob, it's so important for these young people to relax now. Their competition to make the team is done. We saw last night perhaps a little tension on the basketball team members, knowing there are still 4 cuts to be made before they go to Seoul. Our gymnastics exhibition from the Carolinas Invitational is coming up next. Today's coverage of the Carolinas Invitational is being brought to you by the 1988 U.S. Olympic coins. They help America shine.
welcome back to the Carolinas Invitational here in Charlotte. A lot of interesting stories in regard to personalities here today. One of them involves Dominic Minicucci, who really didn't know he was going to make the Olympic team till the last moment.
Well, this is what happened. The lady was lining us up to go out, and I knew that they only take 7 guys on the team. I turned around, and I seen a guy behind me, Tom, that I knew I had beat. And I said to myself, there's supposed to be 7 guys going out, and there's somebody behind me. And I says, okay. Now, I looked up in front of me, and I'm trying to see everyone who I thought was ahead of me, and one person was missing. And then I grabbed the lady that was lining everybody up, and I counted the sheet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah! and then I had known, and it was tremendous, tremendous feeling.
He's a freshman at the University of Illinois, and pommel horse is his outstanding event, his favorite event, and that's where we will see him starting off our exhibition today, Kath.
Well, he must be a very happy guy because, as that story shows, it's such a great story, and he was definitely the surprise on this Olympic team. Pommel horse is a very unique event. It's often compared to the balance beam in the women's side. It takes a lot of concentration, as you can see. It's very easy to get off on your swing.
In fact, he will take some of the moves that he uses on this apparatus to the parallel bars as well, adapting some of those flares.
I'll tell you what is good about this exhibition right now. It follows a highly pressured weekend in making the Olympic team, and you can see they're down just a little bit here, and they're going to have to realize they got to pick back up.
We'll keep things going right for you as you look at Hope Spivey. She was the #3 woman in points at the Olympic trials, and Hope Spivey will be performing for us on the uneven bars.
She is one of the most aggressive competitors I've ever seen. She swings quite well on the uneven bars, a full pirouette over the top. A lot of difficulty in here. Nice delta. A little bit of form breaks, but not much. Those are the kind of things you really want to clean up before the games. Another giant pirouette, and that is a miss. She's supposed to go all the way over the top with a full pirouette. I think they're going to learn real quick here that they've got to really get back into concentration, following the trials. She's setting up for a dismount. She does the pirouette again, right into a double tuck flyaway.
Hope Spivey out of Suffolk, Virginia, and of course she is performing most lately with Bill and Donna Strauss coaching the Parkettes of Allentown, Pennsylvania. And now we go to Tom Schlesinger, one of these Nebraska Cornhuskers, a senior majoring in chemistry. He's in pre-med, the '87 NCAA all-around champion, and he is very strong in many events, and he will perform for us here on the parallel bars.
He's a very disciplined gymnast. I mean, he's a gymnast. He does everything by the book.
He has a connection to this area, born in Chapel Hill. His father was teaching philosophy, or psychology rather, at North Carolina. And he says because of that, he will always have to be a Tar Heel basketball fan. You can't let those things go away.
He's got a real tough job. He's the alternate for this Olympic team. He's got to be ready to perform at any given moment. If someone were to be injured, even in the last 30-second warm-up before the games, he has to go on. Good job by Tom.
Tom Schlesinger out of that great program at the University of Nebraska. Our exhibition continues here in Charlotte in a moment at the Carolinas Invitational.
Now training at Caroli Gymnastics in Houston.
We're back at the Carolinas Invitational in Charlotte for an exhibition of the Olympic women's and men's gymnastics teams this afternoon. Tonight on USA, guest star E.G. Marshall finds that murder is the best medicine. Don't miss the suspense when Alfred Hitchcock presents tonight at 8, 7 Central. And then tension mounts when a stranger comes to town on the next episode of the Ray Bradbury Theater. That's coming up tonight at 8:30, 7:30 Central on USA. The exhibition continues on the floor, and we'll get a look at the floor exercise of Billy Paul, who eased into the number 8 spot when Dan Hayden was injured at the Olympic trials. Certainly a terrible break for Dan, who had the team made, Kathy.
It was a real tough day for Dan. It was on his last event, high bar, and he had injured himself on the event before, separating his shoulder. He had a miss on high bar and unfortunately repeated the skill, which caused another 5/10 deduction and dropped him out of the team position. This is Billy Paul. He commands a lot of respect. He's been around for ages. He's a strong competitor, and he's always right there. He's never made that top team, the top 6, but he's always in the top 10 or 12.
A couple of alternates for both the women's and the men's team. One gets to go to Seoul, one does not.
Finishes double back. Nice exercise.
Billy Paul.
Billy Paul wraps up his first exhibition of the afternoon, and we will move on to the balance beam, where a very powerful young performer out of Tallahassee, Florida, of course now in Houston with her coach Bella Caroli. This is Brandy Johnson.
Brandy has come a long way. She was a junior national champion 2 years ago. She's moved into the elite ranks and now on the Olympic team. She's always been thought of to be one of the strongest vaulters in the country, if not the strongest. Two back handsprings and a layout step out. This is where the United States really needs to buckle down and do well in the Olympic Games. Balance beam usually makes or breaks a team or an individual gymnast. It takes tremendous concentration. Front tuck somersault. Couldn't quite get her balance back. This is a good opportunity for these girls and guys to get back off the trials and realize exactly what it's going to take to compete at the games.
In front of a crowd that is on their side, of course, but nevertheless a big crowd, and that pressure that comes along with that type of performance.
It's just enough pressure to get them right where they should be.
Bella Caroli watching one of his outstanding gymnasts in Brandy Johnson.
Now here's that first pass. One of the more difficult passes she does. It's two back handsprings into a layout step out. Slight balance break.
So Brandy walks off, and the youngest member of the men's gymnastics team, an incoming freshman at the University of Nebraska. That's bad news for the rest of the Big Eight and the country. Lance Ringnahl, out of Des Moines, Iowa, originally. Lance says he did his first double flip at the age of 8. But we would not suggest getting started that way, because he said it was when he was hit by a car. He's been flipping ever since.
A lot of people have been surprised by this guy, but he's really come on strong this past year. He did well at the championships, qualifying into the trials, and maintained his position.
5th in the overall at Salt Lake City.
He's doing nice work here. Did a back toss and right into a Diamondov. Front stutz. Little walk on the hands, a double pike dismount. Very difficult dismount to land.
Lance Ringnahl, coached by Ed Birch and Bill Foster, tied for 2nd in 2 different events at the Olympic trials in Salt Lake City, and here's the dismount.
As I said, this is much more difficult than the double tuck somersault. You get more credit for doing it, but it is harder to land.
Nicely done by Lance. And now a young lady who, in her first major international competition at George Mason University recently, took 3rd at the McDonald's Championships. And She has got something special. Lots of personality on the floor right now.
And I was there at the American Cup, and I remember this floor routine and how popular it was. So sit back and prepare to be entertained. Watch this first tumbling run. Round up back handspring, double twist, 2 back handspring, 3 back handsprings into a double back. He stepped out of bounds. It's a lot of tumbling to get into one pass.
No wonder Bella Caroli calls her a showgirl, like Mary Lou Retton was.
This is the kind of energy you want when you get up in the morning. It's definitely a spunky little. And a middle pass. Full in the middle. So difficult. It's exactly what you're going to have to do to be able to be competitive with the Soviets and Romanians. They're going to be doing that tumbling pass at the end of the routines. Last tumbling pass. Nice high double back. Delightful.
All 4'8", 74 pounds of her. Now training out of Houston with Bella Caroli and company, Shelley Stack.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we present our women's vaulting team.
And she has quite a bit of difficulty in this routine, particularly this middle pass. She does a piked, full twisting double back. It's a full twist on the first somersault, and then a back pike on the second. And she ends very strong with a high double somersault.
Well, you've seen her, and in a moment, you'll be able to hear from her. Shelley Stack joins Kathy Johnson when we return to Charlotte in a moment.
Our next home, University of Oklahoma, and is probably one of the best known athletes.
Next up here in Charlotte, a young lady out of the University of Oklahoma, and we are fortunate enough to be joined by Kelly Garrison-Steeves' coach. Welcome, Becky Buick.
Thank you. Thank you very
And
much.
your young lady was the #2 point maker at the trials last week as we watched Kelly in action on the balance beam. Let's talk a little bit about her performance that got her to the Olympic team.
Okay. She'll be mounting with a round-off tuck salto on.
Let's find out about her and say.
It's pretty solid, just maybe a little bit short of what I'd like.
Now, I understand Kelly's really been working hard on her physical conditioning.
That's right. The strength and conditioning coach for the football team, Pete Martinelli, has been helping us since we returned from World Championships. She's been in the weight room with the football players, and I must say she's gained a lot of recognition and a lot of support from that team.
Now, it might be my own personal opinion, but I think balance beam is just Kelly's event.
It really is. It has been since she was a child, since she was 10. A little error there, just not pushing quite enough off the feet.
What about the possible role of leadership, Becky, that she could have on this team, being the so-called senior member?
I think much like Kathy, Kelly does have leadership qualities to bring into this team. If the young girls need any questions answered, Kelly will be there to answer to them. She is considered the mama of the team.
I can definitely relate to feeling like the mommy, but I think I actually became the grandmother of the team. How has being married affected her training at all?
It's been great for Kelly. It's really made her organized and really set her goals a little bit better. So I wish all my girls were married.
Well, husband
And a
Mark.
nice routine.
That's right. Thank you.
Husband Mark is on the Oklahoma gymnastics team and is a pretty good athlete himself. And there is Kelly Garrison-Steeves. Becky, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Nebraska put several members on our 1988 U.S. Olympic team.
Next, we look at Kevin Davis. He will be performing on the pommel horse. Another one of these Nebraska Cornhuskers, a 3-year member of the senior national team. He was 3rd in the all-around, but 1st on the pommel horse at the trials in Salt Lake City.
Kevin is outstanding all around, but really I think this event is his. He does such beautiful work here. I think you'll be able to notice how high he swings above the horse, how straight his body is. Nice work traveling down the horse. Beautiful flares. Moves so easily across the horse. Nice scissor work. Down to the end of the horse, up to a handstand for the dismount. Beautiful job.
Kevin Davis has been a big factor in the NCAA championships, and now he, of course, is on the national and the international level as well. Kevin Davis, originally from Charleston, South Carolina, and another look at those flares.
Competing for Nebraska has really helped Kevin. He's become much more consistent, and his work has just been refined. His dismount.
One sister is a figure skater, another sister and another brother are champion speed.
And now on the floor, considered the #1 gymnast of the females in the USA, is Phoebe Mills, coached by Bella Caroli. And Bella, thanks for being with us as we watch your #1 attraction in action right now.
Bella, you've continually been able to coach girls up to a higher level. What do you stress in your workouts to really achieve that?
Well, probably just like we see now, Phoebe on the beam, the seriousness, the sturdiness, the powerful actions, the dedication, and at the same time the confidence. I can do it. Sure, I will do it. And that's so important ingredient of the high performers. Now, I strongly feel we have a unique situation what we never had before. Beam. Beam is a so important event of all these big competition games or world championships. And now we have 3-4 beamers. Unbelievable kids. I never can recall one country in my life who they're having 3 or 4 like we have right now. That's a great opportunity to achieve high performances on this specific event of the Seoul coming up games. And I know with Kelly, with Phoebe, even Christy or Rhonda on the team, they could put up a tremendous and almost unbeatable team in the beam.
I had said that earlier, and I've always said it.
Right.
Beam is always a key
Yeah.
to how the team finishes.
And that is Phoebe. She he really wasn't at the beginning like that one. She wasn't a great beamer, but she sure grew into it.
A nice double back dismount.
Yay.
Good job.
Good job.
We'll have another look at the artistry, the confidence of Phoebe Mills, coming on the beam and off the beam with her outstanding dismount.
You said the key right there, confidence. Phoebe has just unbelievable confidence now going into the Olympic Games.
Bella, thank you so much for joining us while we watch your star pupil in action. And we'll talk a little bit later about the USA women's gymnastics coaching situation as we look forward to Seoul. More coming up from Charlotte in just a moment. USA continues its coverage of the Carolinas Invitational from Charlotte. Today we're featuring the exhibition of the women's and men's gymnastics teams as they tune up for the Olympics in Seoul, Korea. And now down to the floor where Kathy Johnson is standing by with Kelly Garrison-Steeves, a couple of ladies who have shared similar roles on their Olympic teams. Phoebe Mills is also there as well.
Thanks, Bob. Phoebe Mills and Kelly Garrison-Steeves are at this time the 2 leading forces for the United States team leading up to the games in Seoul. And they both have very different things to add to the team. Kelly Garrison is 21. She adds a lot of experience. Phoebe Mills, only 15 years old, but she's pretty much a veteran to international competition as well. Phoebe, you're going into your 2nd major international meet, the Olympic Games. How will this differ from the World Championships last year?
I guess the meet format will probably be a lot like the World Championships, and I'm sure I learned a lot from it in order to prepare me for this competition. It's the Olympics, it's the big one, so there's more pressure, but I'm sure that I'll just go out and have fun and do well.
What about Phoebe Mills? How much better are you this year than you were last year at the Games?
I think I'm a lot better than I was last year because I was injured and I was really having a rough year. Right now I feel good and my workouts have been going really well, so I'm just ready to go out there and go for it.
And Kelly Garrison-Steeves, after trying out for 3 Olympic teams, you're finally an Olympian in 1988. That's got to feel great.
Yes, it's just a dream come true. After trying so many times and not making it, I think it's more prestigious for me, and I'm just a lot more grateful for making this team.
What would you contribute to this year's success?
Mainly just rearrangement of my diet and my training schedule. I've just really worked on cross-training and lifting weights and just rearranging my diet completely, from snacking on a candy bar to eating 3 meals a day.
What do you think the U.S. chances are in Seoul?
I think that we have a really good chance of possibly winning a medal. Of course, we're all going to have the most outstanding performance, probably the best one of our lives, and every single one of us. But I do think we have a great chance of possibly taking third place.
Great. Thank you, Kelly and Phoebe. And we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Okay so far? Here at the Carolinas Invitational, women's and men's gymnastics. It's an exhibition here on this Saturday afternoon, and we'll get our first look at rhythmic gymnastics. You're looking at Diane Simpson out of Evanston, Illinois. She's a freshman at Northwestern University at the age of 19, and this, of course, has been a gold medal sport since 1984 in LA. And Kathy Johnson, this is an event that combines many different things.
Well, instead of working on the apparatus, as in artistic gymnastics, they use apparatus. They toss and catch. Flexibility plays a huge part in this sport. Dance, elegance. Typically, the Eastern Europeans have dominated the sport. The Bulgarians, the Soviets. But this gymnast has done particularly well in world competition. He's brought the standard up in USA Gymnastics.
Often called a mixture of ballet, gymnastics, and a bit of juggling. It's been popular in Europe for many decades.
There's also a little bit of theater in there. You can see the drama, the facial expression.
And one thing's for sure, Kathy, now that medals are available, it'll become very popular in this country in a short period of time.
It's already beginning to pick up popularity. Many young girls are going into rhythmic.
Diane was the all-around title winner at the '86 U.S. Olympic Festival, even though she was performing with a broken finger at the time.
There's an interesting twist at the Olympic trials. She and her teammate, Michelle Berube, tied for first place at the trials, both qualifying for the Olympic team. Michelle Berube, of course, was on the '84 team. And this will be Diane's first Olympics. It was a beautiful job.
Diane Simpson with a look at rhythmic gymnastics.
This takes tremendous eye-hand coordination for the tosses. And each of the tosses have difficulty ratings, depending on what they do below the toss and what the equipment actually does in the air. You can see her extreme flexibility. She's always right there to catch the hoop.
Beautifully done by Diane Simpson. And a big story in gymnastics over the last several years. In September of '86, at the age of 14, when they asked, is she the next Mary Lou, Christy Phillips was the youngest ever to appear on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and her well-documented comeback attempt. She is an alternate that will not be traveling to Seoul if things stay the way they are right now. The number 8 position on the team.
The United States Gymnastics Federation, though, is pushing hard for that 8th member, and I feel pretty good about